All right, here we are, episode 40. We're live here for the Grandsire podcast, joined today by Tank Abbott. Oh, sorry, Alex Behunin. What's going on, sir? How are you? Hopefully, I didn't butcher that last name too bad.
It would be Behunin, but you did good, man. You did good. It's all good, man. I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me on.
Of course, man. Listen, when it comes to butchering last names, though, I'm right there with you. You know what I mean? People take one look at this non-complicated, say how it's spelled name, and they put their own spin on it every single time.
Yeah, no, I've got it my whole entire life, so I am used to it.
So listen, man, where are you getting back from? You were at an event recently, right? Because we saw you with Michael Chiesa and all those guys, man. When did you get back?
I got back Saturday night. So what I do, yeah, so I attended Caitlin Vieira versus Misha Tate. So I drive out Tuesday. I do media day. And Thursday, I usually stop by gyms out there. So I stopped by Syndicate and Exchange Couture. Then Friday is weigh-ins, and then and then fight day Saturday, and then I drive home Saturday night because I do not like Sunday traffic coming back from Vegas to California. It's the worst. So I just fuck it, drive back.
So do you have a day job, or are you able to sort of kind of freely maneuver all this stuff?
Yeah, so I write for a couple websites, and that's what I'm doing. I'm looking for a couple jobs so that I could just write and like that. That's what I got my degree in. It was journalism, and I'm a writer. So hopefully, like that's what I want to do is just write.
And that's the thing too. We see like some guys come in with journalism degrees and they start messing around in MMA and they look at people and they're like, "What the fuck are you guys doing? Like, you're doing all the shit we're not supposed to do in school." I say that I'm probably doing some of those things. I have a background in marketing, so nothing to do with writing. But I'm sure for you, you look at some stuff and you cringe because you're like, you if you went to school, you'd know better.
Yeah, I mean, coming up with a journalism degree, there's a lot of stuff in this industry, like in mixed martial arts. Like I've come to realize that a lot of reporters and MMA journalists didn't go to school for it.
No.
They they just kind of plopped into it, and so it just I see things, but I mean, who the fuck am I going to tell? I'm saying it's just it is what it is. Like everyone has their own path, and it's still such a wild west that like no one really cares if you're ethical or you know.
That's the crazy thing. When I started at Clutch Points, like, I was on a trial period. I was part-time, and so their thing was just, write whatever and stuff. So every title I did, for example, was really honest. Like, Colby Covington discusses upcoming fight and stuff. I was like, we're going to do this the right way. And then I got a phone call talking about, let's look at some of these numbers. And it was like, this fight announcement got 13 views and stuff. And they're like, Lucas, my guy, you got to spice up the title. So now everything is break silence. Shockingly, they love throwing bonkers in titles. Like, you got to spice up everything. And it's crazy because you don't feel good about it. Like, Julio Arce, for example, I did a whole article on how he likes his steak cooked. That was the juiciest thing, pun intended, that I could find in there. And the whole time I'm thinking, like, I'm sure there are people that cringe just seeing a picture of a steak next to a fighter. Like, you got to think, is this journalism? Is that what Lucas calls journalism? Is how guys like their stuff cooked?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, like some websites have to have traffic to stay just to stay
Yep.
afloat in this thing. Personally, like for me, like I won't write crazy headlines because I just like I know how it feels, and like I just don't like those kind of headlines. So I don't do it personally, but I understand why people have to do it.
The big thing I'm sure too for you is that you learn in school, I'm sure, about crediting the sources or at least where you got your stuff from. And I have to tell you, man, at one point, 'cause the thing is, I have to pretty much keep up with all the news in order to rewrite it for my website. And I credit everybody who transcribed it, who did this and that. But there's a lot of websites, man. They find ways of not crediting, like in teeny tiny at the very end of the article after, the clickbait ads. Oh, by the way, there's an original source. ESPN at one point was just ignoring everybody. Like, it's crazy. Like,
They
all
are
the
the
different
worst.
strategies people come up with. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, it's that is one thing in this industry that's horrible is the crediting and sourcing, and ESPN is by far the worst. And Mr. Akamoto doesn't do it in his tweets. He'll
Yes.
break news, and then if he does, he'll do a reply and then do it underneath. It's like, dude, why can't you just do it in the original tweet? Like, it is annoying.
I think it's so dirty too because you got to think like, for example, myself, like I don't break news, so I imagine like if I did break news, and then like well, actually, I had a situation with ESPN where I'd broken a news. This is like 2 years ago that a fighter was out of his fight, so the fight was completely canceled. And then Brett Okamoto, a few, like 20 minutes later, reports it, and I'm like, here we go, my time to shine. I'm gonna get the at Grandsire MMA, nothing. And if anything, he was contradicting my report. So I was like, what the fuck is this, man? So for a second you're like, do I have beef with Brett? Like, is this a thing? And then you realize like it's kind of like that Thanos thing. I don't even know who you are. So no, but it's frustrating because you look at it and it's like, I know what it is that you probably got a text too, but that's just not how it works though, man. Like, but the one that really gets me is when people like confirm other people's reports. Like somebody will tweet something, but yeah, I can confirm it. But you don't need to confirm it, man. You don't have to. Like, we trust the source. Like, I hate when people do that shit.
Yeah, it's just such a wild, wonky industry. It's crazy.
So for you in this industry, like what's the ultimate goal? Like, are you one of those guys you want to be like on staff at an MMA junkie or something? Like, what's kind of the goal for you getting into, covering the sport?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to get on with. I mean, I love Cageside Press, and I'm hoping that we continue to grind and put out good content, and I believe that if you put out good content, people will come, right? I mean, there's a reason. It's just it's weird because the MMA sphere, there's fighting, there's junkie, and then there's like BJ Penn is like right underneath. There's Bleacher Report that kind of does MMA, kind of doesn't. It's like there's these big dogs, and then there's these other sites that like do really good content, and fans always say, "Oh, we want new content, we want better interviews." It's like, well, then support us. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yes.
support us, support us, so that you get better content, and so that there's more content around instead of just MMA junkie or MMA fighting. It's just like whatever. So to answer your question, yeah, I would love just to write for. I mean, I like writing for like the what websites that I do content for, and if I could just stick with Cageside Press and keep building, I would love to do that.
I think that's the dream for a lot of those websites too, is to sort of build up that team over time, like you see in sports, right? Where they have the young guys that they draft, and then you see them, improve and all that stuff. But it's tough because, like you mentioned, fans, they'll say we want prospects, we want to know about who these guys are behind the scenes. Something that I see you trying to do, and they won't click on it. You know what I mean? Like, we want to know about prospects, but when you put something out with prospects, they don't read it. So it's like, do you actually want that? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I know it's crazy. I mean, but even it trips out because even if you go to like Junkie or MMA Fighting and you look at their interviews and their views, like even on bigger names, their views aren't that crazy compared to like you go to other sports, you go to the entertainment industry, like there's millions and millions of views, and like you can barely break 10,000 views on some fighters. It's crazy. It's crazy, and then people bitch about wanting different stuff or wanting interviews or it's just like. So what's up?
Listen, man, I feel like we have to address some of these comments. I don't know if you're seeing the YouTube comments. You have a lot of fans, man. A lot of people, something going on with Misha Tate. What's going on here, man? Who are all these fans?
Man, those are my guys. Those are my guys.
There's something going on with you and Misha. Like, it sounds like a lot of people, there's something with you and Misha, if I'm getting this right from the comments.
No. It was just I was over there at a fight week, so they're just kind of like linked me together.
That's not a bad person to get linked with. But speaking of which, man, yeah, I'm just saying. But you, I mean, you experienced a little bit of the haters that a lot of people have to deal with, man. What did you get more of that stuff? Like, everybody has to deal with that shit. But it seems like people are coming after you for just whatever.
So no, so I usually my timeline is super like positive and love and even like if there is negative stuff, like I'll just ignore it. But dude, some dude just like hit me to my core and like hurt my feelings. And I think it was more because I have a stutter, and when I get nervous, you can hear it come out. And so it was probably more about that and like my insecurities. And dude, he fucking hurt my feelings. And like, and I was just like, it is what it is.
The thing too is a lot of people are gonna tell you like, man, fuck that guy, like Alistair Overeem's this profile pic. But the truth is, like, it's not even about that guy. It's about how you took it. And like when I was working for MMA World, for example, there's a lot of eyeballs there, and I was not ready for that. In the comments, every episode, like all of it was just attacking me for whatever reason every single time. And at first you're like, man, fuck these guys. Like, if I ever see them in the streets. But the truth is, after a while, you hear it enough, and it's gonna start to get to you and pick at you. And then you get in your own head. Like one of the ones that was weird was everyone was saying I sound like Henry Cejudo, which I don't know if that's true. It doesn't make any sense to me because if you think about it, like we're not even from the same countries. We don't even live in the same area. Like he slurs his words. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like I don't sound like him, but every comment, Henry Cejudo, Henry Cejudo, Henry Cejudo. And after a while, you're like, man, fuck all these guys. Like, shut up. Like, you know what I mean? But it just, people have this way of finding the thing. And it's not even about who said it. It's just about, how you, sort of interpret it.
Totally, 100%. And like, I see myself as a writer before anything. I see myself as a writer before an interviewer or a whatever. And so when I go cover these events, like, of course, I'm going to ask questions for my website and whatever. So it was just the perfect troll comment, just everything. And it just like that one touched my soul, and I was like, oh my God. And like, maybe I shouldn't have shared it on Twitter. I don't know. I was just like, I just wanted to be honest. I was like, dude, this dude fucking hurt me.
But at the same time, like you also found out like who was there for you and who wasn't, right? You saw like who was on your team and who was on Alistair Overeem's 7 followers team, right? Like at least that you can take in and like, all right, enough people like me that, if you'd said that and you got maybe 2 likes and nobody replied, I would have been like, sorry, man, it's time to retire. But at least you got some love out of it, right? Like people were supporting you.
Oh, dude, it's when I tweeted that out, I 100% thought I was gonna get cooked and I'm just like, dude, this fucking dude's sensitive, like you little bitch. And no, dude, I got so much love from everybody. It was very humbling. And like, it was just like I just like couldn't. I was just like, dude, this is wild. Just to see like people that I'm probably never gonna meet, right? People I'm never gonna meet, like come into war for me, or just like consoling me, like, dude, like don't listen to this guy. It was insane. It was like that, and the internet gets a bad rap sometimes, but like that to me was just like, dude, like, yeah.
And that's the thing. I think a lot of people in this industry, everybody's gotten it. Everybody's had the people bombard on them for no reason. Like one of the worst ones I saw recently. I don't know if you pay attention to MMA fighting's content, but I don't know what Damian Martin did. I don't know what he did to the MMA fans, but this guy just gets attacked every single interview he does, and I'm getting mad for him. I almost want to, like somebody was talking about how he looked like in his interview with Halle Berry and Valentina Shevchenko, and I almost wanted to be like, look, you have the choice to look at Halle Berry, Valentina Shevchenko, or Damian Martin, and you're looking at Damian Martin. Like, what are you doing, man? Like, you have Halle Berry right there. Like, why are you guys focusing on him? Like, it's crazy to me, like what people focus on and what they nitpick. It's like, who gives a shit?
It's crazy, man. And being a public figure, man, and it's like kind of crazy. Like, what I got is nothing compared to what these athletes go through. Like, I could not even fucking imagine. I could not imagine what these guys go through. Like, I mean, I see it a little bit on the timeline, but I couldn't imagine what these guys get DM'd. And I mean, it is, especially because like the worst part of sports is like the gambling aspect of it, right? Because I mean, you're putting your money on it, and then you're thinking that these fighters are doing it to you. It's just like you're doing it to yourself, and then they get like super fucking vile and nasty. I cannot imagine what these fighters go through personally, like through their DMs, and I can't fathom it.
Oh, MMA is one of those sports, like the betting for MMA just got out of control. Like even you see how many content creators, like we've had some on the podcast and stuff, like it's a big thing. But part of it is understanding there's a risk. Like we were talking about it, like you could be winning the whole fight, get knocked out in the very last second, like Yair Rodriguez and the Korean Zombie. You know what I mean? And you're gonna sit there and get mad. Like you couldn't have, in my opinion, bet on a more like dangerous sport to bet on. You know what I mean? Like it feels extreme, like anything can happen. But for these guys to take it out on the athletes too. Like, you got to think, let's be honest, you got your ass whooped, and now you got a guy in your DMs crying about you lost me money. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, you don't think I got something else to worry about? Like, they lost money too. They lost half their paycheck. You know what I mean? It's like, fuck this guy.
Yeah, it's I can't even like I ask the fighters sometimes, and they just like give me horror stories. It's so wild. Like my buddy Jorgen De Castro, like I was asking him, and dude, he got just cooked, and it's just like I don't have I wouldn't be able to hang, dude. I'd go cry in my fucking room and turn off social media for the rest of my life.
That would be tough too, because you have different reactions. Like, you get sad and emotional, you get angry. You know what I mean? Like, you look at it, like, and especially I feel like if you're a professional fighter, you're like, if I see any of these guys on the street, like, I'm beating your ass. You know what I mean? Like, there's no question about it, but you can't. It's like, I feel like there's just so many emotions, and fighting too, like, it feels personal. Like, you go out there and lose. Like, yeah, you have your coaches, you have your team and stuff, but at the end of the day, like, people watched you lose, and that's a very personal thing, especially fighting, so you just feel like it's got to be really complex. Like, even we hear more and more about the mental health and stuff with these guys, but it's got to be a very tricky situation for them.
Oh, 100%, dude. You're out there fighting another man in your underwear in a cage with millions of people watching you. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing too. And then you go back on social media and you have maybe 2 comments telling you keep your head up, and then the rest of them, it's like you should have kept your hands up. Or I love the coaches like, hey man, here's what I would have done in that situation. What are you talking about, bro? You can't press the X button and the O button 3 times and get out of that submission. Like, it just, I don't know, man. There are times when MMA fans are the best. Like, when you see like somebody put out like what's it called? When you ask for donations and shit when you're sick, like. You put that out there and then you see it get shared by everybody. And then you have other times where a guy loses a bet and all of a sudden everybody's, sitting there killing him in his DMs.
No, totally. Yeah. It's crazy.
So how has the switch for you been, going from just a writer to now, like you're putting your face out there, you're putting your name out there. Like, it is like it's tricky, because I feel like a lot of people, they come in, they're just an MMA fan behind, sort of a fake profile picture and stuff, observing. And then when you become a writer, you have to, my name is Alex, this is what I look like and stuff. That must have been like, I know for me, it was very nerve wracking to do that. It's like, shit, people know who I am now, even though it doesn't matter. But how was that switch for you?
I mean, I've never. I think I've always had my face on my profile, like on my social media. I've never really had to hide behind anything, so it wasn't really anything. It's just like I've really exploded on social media, so like I get a lot more interactions in my, everything. It's crazy.
So what was the switch in your social media? Like, obviously I see a lot of this stuff. It's like you post a lot of videos, a lot of content people have missed and stuff. I mean, has that been the secret to success? Because obviously you're doing something right on social media.
100%. No, it's the secret for me is just interacting with fans and interacting with people. Like, people want to know, like, why isn't my social media growing? Interact with people who like who talk with you. Like, that's what worked for me. And once I started interacting with people and like getting to know people, it just kind of go like that. And then putting out content, and then just finding cool stuff to share, and then it kind of like snowballs. And then I've, like my humanizing athlete series, people really like that. So it was just kind of like, I don't know what the perfect like answer is. It's just I guess I interacted with my fans, or I interacted with just people on Twitter, and then just like cool stuff, right? And then there's a lot of Twitter that aren't on Instagram, so like bringing news from Instagram onto Twitter also helps.
How have you managed your Instagram? Like, I know for me, when I started, I was looking at how other journalists did it, and a lot of it was like, here's my kids, here's my lunch. And kind of felt like nobody really gave a shit about that. So I was like, I'm going to post clips from my interviews. And then finally I found out, like, when you have a bunch of fighters that follow you, they enjoy the MMA memes. You know what I mean? Like the Cheeto dust on the t-shirt, like, fuck man, I would have finished that guy with a head kick and a guillotine. Like, I found out that, I mean, for me, Instagram, it was like, I don't have to worry about being professional because I feel like nobody cares. But how have you done it with Instagram?
So my Instagram, so I didn't create like a different like Alex MMA Instagram. I it was my personal Instagram, and then I just started going full MMA stuff. And so um I I kind of use it like I use it kind of like my Twitter, just not as much. I, Lately, it's like the pictures that I take, and interesting interview clips, and I've been doing my humanizing stuff on there, and people really like that stuff. So that's kind of how I use my Instagram. Honestly, I don't like Instagram. I don't. The only reason why I like it is because like that's where the fighters are. Like
Yeah.
all the fighters love Instagram because they like posting pictures. That's the only reason why I have one.
That's the crazy thing. Like, as soon as I found out, like, and to reach out to people too, like Instagram's a big tool. It was like, fuck, I'm gonna have to get an MMA Instagram because my personal one, like, it just wouldn't work. Like, I know the people on there, they don't even know what I do. Like, I was like, that won't work. So, but yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. Every single fighter is on Instagram. It is crazy. Like, even a prospect you never heard of, they're on Instagram too. It's crazy how big MMA Instagram is for some reason.
Yeah, it's wild, and like I think MMA lives on Twitter, but I can see why fighters don't like to go on Twitter because it can get very toxic very quick.
For sure. I feel like we have to address some of these comments. Are you about to start an OnlyFans? Like, what is going on here? Like, I am seeing some people. You are getting some people excited. Like, I'm seeing some real sexual aggression. Like, what is going on here? Is it because you're linked with Misha Tate? Like, what are we doing here?
No, I I don't know. I don't know. They're just
They're excited. They're
yeah.
I mean, they're hungry or something. I don't know.
Yeah, those are my guys.
So tell me about the humanizing athletes things. Obviously, that's the thing people want to see, right? They want to, like, who are these guys and stuff. And you figured out a way to get a lot of eyeballs on it. And I think I saw one time you didn't do it for one fighter, and a lot of people came after you. So I was like, I mean, yeah, that's a good thing. But how did you think of something like that?
Yeah, so it kind of started when I was in college, and like everyone always told me like whatever you do, like find your own voice, be unique. And so I was just like, what I just kind of came up with it. Also, like I just like that. That's like so what it is. It's basically just asking fighters or asking athletes what their favorite stuff is, and like that to me is like what I want to know about people. Honestly, like usually if I meet somebody, like I want to know what their favorite movie is. It just you kind of learn a lot about a person with their favorite movie. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. You can judge somebody on that. But yeah, so that's I started asking fighters, and so I started doing it. And during the pandemic, like it was doing okay because I was writing articles, right? Like, and I was writing articles and everything, and then I would list it. And then earlier this year, I kind of realized that like, and you learn this in the industry, like people don't like clicking links and going somewhere. They like seeing this stuff on their page. So I was like, well, I'm a fucking idiot. Why didn't I just crop all their answers and put a picture, and then you can look at all their answers on one little post. And once I started doing that, that's when it really started hyping up, and then like managers and fighters started reaching out to me and was like, "What's up?"
Wow, because I was gonna ask you, like, how are fighters responding to that? Because I assume they have to appreciate, like, it's different. You know what I mean? Everyone's tired of talking about how they got into the sport, how training camps go on the weight cut. But if you have people reaching out, like, clearly you're doing something right.
Yeah, no, fighters really like it. Shane Burgos was the first one. Was like, dude, thank you so much for asking me these questions. I'm like, it's so unique, and so yeah, I mean, so that's just I just I've been on these like Zoom calls or like PFL and Bellator, and like these dudes get asked the same questions, and like or when a fighter does media tours, like they'll do Hawani, they'll do James Lynch, they'll do you, they'll do all these people, and it's like the same question. So I was like, all right, well then I'll ask them like a couple questions about the fight, and then I'll ask them just their stuff, and it kind of just it brings that personality, and like that's my whole motive for for the Humanizing Athlete series is for fighters to get new fans, and for the fans to kind of get to know them more than just a fighter, you know?
That's the thing too. Like I've tried to take that approach during interviews. Some guys respond really well to it, and they sort of, you got to play the game too, and some guys don't. Like, like I was talking to Julio Arce, and it was obvious throughout the interview, like, okay, we're not getting anything that's, let's be honest, super interesting. Like, how's camp going? Yeah, camp's going well. What do you think of the fight? Yeah, it's a good matchup. So, man, we found whatever we could. Let's talk about your diet. Let's talk about your steak. I was like, whatever, let's find something. I checked the comments, and one guy's like, this interview sucks. I can't believe you asked him about the steak. We don't want to hear about that. I was like, what the fuck, man? Like, I'm trying, damn it. He's like, I know you want to ask different questions. Well, if you know, then why are you coming after me? Like, and plus, you have so many other guys you can watch if you don't appreciate, like I'm trying. And some guys, they can get super interesting. Like I talked to, Blood Diamond fighter that trains with Israel Adesanya, and we got some a little bit different. I was like, finally, some interesting stuff. Some guys won't have it though. Some guys is just, they'll always want to bring you back to the fight or whatever it is that they're promoting.
Yeah, no, for sure. And even with my insecurity, I was like, do other media members think that I'm not good enough because I'm asking these like dumb, simple questions, right? And then so like so like that's like in the back of my head. And so like I was at Bellator in Phoenix, like I asked Sean Al Shadi, I was like, dude, like, am I crazy thinking that? He's like, dude, no, what you're doing is unique and it's different, and people are paying attention, and that's what you want is just people paying attention. And since that, like, it's just because I'm a very insecure person, like and you like I want my stuff to be good, and you know.
That's the tough thing too, because I feel like I say that, through my own experience, but I feel like, I have trouble watching my own interviews, for example. If I go back and watch it, like, I'll just tear the interviewer apart. I'll be like, why'd you ask that? Oh, did you really have to pause? Oh, your voice shook before you finished your sentence. Like, what are you doing? I feel like it's, you do need sometimes somebody to let you know, like, okay, you're doing something right, rather than, because I feel like I'm always afraid, like, if I criticize myself, people are thinking the same shit. You know what I mean? And then you're like, oh no, like we can't all be criticizing me. Like, just one is enough. But it is crazy because you don't necessarily have that many people that tell you you're doing good work. And it's just kind of up to you to know, like, are you doing something well or not? And in your case, you knew you were doing good work because guys were reaching out, wanting to do it, and fighters are saying thank you and stuff like that. So that's, for me, I feel like the fighter feedback, that's the one to know if you're doing it right. Are guys willing to give you their time? And you don't want to, like, hey, can you do an interview? It's like, oh, fuck this guy. You know what I mean? So you want to know, like, can you do an interview? Hell yeah, let's talk about my favorite movie. So I mean, that's the confirmation you need, really.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I always love getting feedback. Like that's like when I reached out to Ariel Helwani about it, or I reached out to Chuck Mindenhall just to kind of like get their feedback and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like I will never get better if I don't know like how I'm doing, right? Like if and that's with anything. Like there's this like for writing, and some people don't like editors. I love having an editor because my grammar. I might be a pretty good writer, but my grammar fucking sucks, and I need someone to like check me on my writing. So like, it's crazy to me when people say like, yeah, like I don't have an editor, or like I don't really use my editor. It's like Jay Anderson from Cageside Press, like he is a fucking fantastic editor, and I'm thankful for him because he just makes the perfect changes, or he recommends things, and it just yeah, I don't know where that came from, but yeah, like it I have to have a good editor.
That's the thing about editors too. Two of the best editors I've ever had are Dan Doherty, who I believe, I don't know if he's still with Cageside Press, but I know he was there at one point. Like he was my first editor, and he was so good. Like, he'd sit down with you and he'd be like, look, we got to improve this one. That wasn't very good. And especially when I was starting out. And then Hunter Homostek, like when I joined Flow Combat, we kind of had this understanding, like, look, I want to get better. And so, he was sitting down with me every article. And there are times, you get frustrated because you'd read the changes and you'd be like, this doesn't feel like what I wrote. And then you're like, which must mean that what I wrote sucked. But, without somebody giving you feedback, it's tough to grow. So when you have someone kind of sit down and be like, look, this was rough. Like there was one article, he was like, look, man, that was a rough read. Like, I did what I could and stuff. I was like, shit. But it's so helpful having a good editor, like, having someone that gives you feedback actively. Like there's just nothing that's as valuable.
Yeah, no, 100%. And like, I, I tend to see myself as like a perfectionist. Like I want my writing to be good. Like I don't want someone like to pick any one of my articles and be like, this dude, like, what the fuck is this guy doing, right? Like I want mine always to be good, and that requires a good editor just to like make sure I'm not, shitty.
That's the thing too. Like Clutch Points, like I'm the MMA guy, so they were like, you're the editor. I was like, oh fuck, like my editor is Grammarly. Like I'm trying, but you definitely feel there's a certain fear. Like you're like, I get to press publish, and there's no one to look at this thing and tell me it sucked. Like all right, but it's nerve wracking. I feel like Grammarly is. I don't know if that's something you use, but Grammarly is such a huge tool, and and the thing is, I tend to use it too much, so I'll make a typo. I'm like, Grammarly will fix it later. So it just, but you gotta find strategies like that.
Totally.
So with you talking about where we want to write and stuff, I don't know if you want to talk about this, but MMA Fighting announced, I believe last week, they were like, we're looking for a guy and stuff. Are you one of the people that applied for that?
I had no idea that they even sent that out.
Brett, how did you miss that? I feel like everyone was talking. Did you seriously miss that?
Yeah, no, I had no idea. I had no idea.
So we get the live reaction right here. Is that something you think you'd be interested in now with the extremely limited information that I gave you?
Yeah, no, for sure. I would love to write for MMA Fighting. I would like to, I like writing. I like telling stories. Like I am a storyteller at heart. I mean, that's what I got into. Like that's where I got into this business for, is to tell stories of these fighters. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, there we go. I'm breaking news here on the podcast because I've saw everybody talking about it, and there's some people like like an Alice Drover in profile picture that's like, I just applied, and it's like, I can already tell you how that one's gonna go, but whatever. But there's definitely some good people that are gonna get that opportunity, so it's gonna be interesting to see who ends up with that one.
Right. No, for sure. I'm definitely gonna have to go check it out just to see what's up.
So you mentioned you can judge a lot of people based on their taste in movies and stuff like that. Who's the fighter that had like the worst movie? Like you almost wanted to hang up the phone because you were like, no way, come on.
Oh man, put me on the spot on this one.
I have to. Is there or is there like a movie, like if someone were to say it, you'd be like, are you serious right now? Are we doing this thing?
I mean, maybe if someone put like The Last Airbender, you know what I'm saying, like like that, then I probably wouldn't even publish their fucking their humanizing. I was like, dude, no.
It's like there's nothing human about picking The Last Airbender. Like it's humanizing fighters. This is not humanizing anything.
I will say, like, the most annoying thing is when they say like, which I get it. It's like favorite movie, favorite song. It's very, very hard to like limit to one. So like I say, like, if you give me 3 if you can't pick one, but like if they say too many, can't answer. I don't know. Just like, dude, come on. Just give me a movie.
Oh, what was the best one? What was the best one you heard? Like you heard it and you were like, if there's a right answer, it is probably that one.
Man,
You want to humanize the athletes. You want to judge them on their movies. Like, we gotta hear about some of the best and the worst.
I know, but you're fucking putting me on the spot, Lucas. What the hell?
Yep, that's what we're doing. I mean, the followers want an OnlyFans, and the followers want to know about the movies too. Apparently.
I mean, I don't know, like, keep talking so that I can go look real quick.
All right, so we have the different movies. I'm trying to think exactly like.
Okay, tell me your favorite movie.
I can't, man. There's just so many to choose from. I just can't.
Good one.
I don't know. I feel like it for like songs and stuff. I feel like it changes. Like you're like at a point where there's one you really like. There's another point where you don't. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I really like the movie recently that I've been watching, kind of an old one, Cool Hand Luke with Paul Newman. That's a movie I've been really enjoying lately. I don't know if you've seen that one.
Yeah. Shane Burgos did Apocalypto, which is it's that was kind of like a wild, just a wild choice. And I was like, okay, I respect that.
That's the Apocalypto from Mel Gibson with the Mayans, or
Yeah.
that's like one of those. That's like a under the radar like dark horse pick. Like I would have never thought of it, but you got to respect that one. You know, there's no hate in liking a movie like that.
Right, exactly. And then of course like Fight Club by Drew Dober, like that's just a obvious choice, but like it's a good one. Like you can tell which like Jerry Gordon put Casino. You know what I'm saying? Like there's
Okay.
you can tell which fighters are movie fans and which aren't. You know, like if you if you give me Rocky as your favorite movie, okay, I get it. I get it.
So what's your favorite movie? I mean, you're humanizing people. What's your favorite movie? Like they put you on the spot. They ask you what's Alex's favorite movie.
Man, I always have to like, dude, like probably Nightmare Before Christmas is my favorite movie, but like that's like my favorite animated movie, right? So like that's what I usually say. But like if you want a not non-animated movie, like not a kids movie, I go like Requiem for a Dream, which is a super dark movie if you've ever heard of that.
Is that the one with what's his name? Marlon Wayans?
Yeah, Marlon Wayans is
Okay.
here. It's all about drug addiction, and most people cannot watch that again. I watched it so many times because like I'm a recovering drug addict, so like that movie hits me different. And so there's that, and then Inception, and Dark Knight. Those are like the big ones for me.
Inception's a cool one. Like even the concept. Like I know after watching it, you're definitely like you want to find like what is it, a totem? You know what I mean? You're like, how can I tell if it's a dream or not? But I feel like real life is it's not that cool. You know what I mean? It's not cool. Like in the movie, they make it seem like wow, I never know. But once you hit real life, like I don't know if I want a spinning top like they did, but I kind of I don't feel like I'd have much use for it.
Yeah, and when people, it's kind of like a high concept movie, right? It's hard to understand, and so but I really I love talking with them. I love talking about that movie with people because it's just so it's just such a very interesting movie, and just dreams dreams in general are just so fascinating to me.
Speaking of dreams, like I know back in high school, when you get the friends together on a Friday night and have the do you believe in aliens and shit? Part of the things people were talking about, and one thing that scared the shit out of me at the time was they were explaining, like two of my friends were explaining to me like, shadow people. I don't know if you've ever heard of this thing where they're like, you'll be sitting on your bed and all of a sudden you see like a dark figure staring at you or something. I was like, that is terrifying. It's like I know, now I'm a grown man and shit, but just imagining something like that was scary. And they were talking about lucid dreaming. Is that something you've ever kind of messed with?
No, but going back to that shadow people, my girlfriend is a recovering drug addict too, and back in her using days, she would see shadow people, and it would scare the shit out of her. So yeah, I've heard horror stories of that.
Oh man, or there's one sleep paralysis too. That one scares the shit out of me. Like I've had a friend who
Yeah,
was like, I had it, and I look on the side of my room. He's like, one there's like a devil on the other one. There's like a I don't know what the word, like a hobbit or something, and he's walking towards me and just like, yo, what? Like that is
yeah.
crazy to me. And that's scary too. Like it, if you put the covers above you, obviously that protects you. We all know how the bed works, but if you don't, like you're out in the open, man. That sounds terrifying to me.
Yeah, no, totally. Sleep paralysis is very terrifying. I've never had it, thankfully. Another thing it's scary to me is sleepwalking. Like that's so weird. It's so like if I ever witnessed somebody sleepwalking, like I don't think I'd help them like go back to sleep. Like I'd say run to my bedroom and go to sleep.
You know what? You say that. My sister is actually since she was a little kid, she does that where she'll just. There was one time I was watching TV downstairs and I hear noise and I look and she just sits down on the couch, but it's like they're awake but they're asleep, so they don't look at you. Like she was just like this, looking at the TV, and I'm sitting there like, is this the thing where if you wake them up they die or what? And then she just up and disappeared, and that was terrifying. You're like, what on earth? Like you're thinking, is this a poltergeist? Is this the possessed people, all that stuff? But man, the sleepwalking thing is weird. Now today, like if she does it, I'll just be like, I tell her the time, tell her to go back to bed, and she just does it. But it's the first couple of times that happens, you're like, is this the possession thing? Like, am I about to get stabbed? Like, that kind of stuff. It's pretty scary the first time.
Yeah, I've never seen it personally, but like I've seen videos of it, and it's terrifying to me. I don't know what it is. It's just scary.
So you mentioned something interesting. I don't know how much you want to talk about it. I'm gonna leave that up to you. But you mentioned like your recovery and stuff like that. I'm curious because I do know people that go through it, and I kind of have an idea of what it is. But what was it that pushed you? Like I know for everyone, it's like at some point you have to decide that it's something you want to do. What was it for you that pushed you? Start the recovery, and you decided like you were gonna get on this path to recovery.
Man, it's
I know it's very personal, so you don't have to
no,
reveal
it's no,
anything or
no,
everything. But
it's not like I it's not personal. It's not personal. Like I will tell anybody my story about, because drug addiction is it's heartbreaking. It ruins families. It ruins lives. I just had a close family friend overdose and die. He's 21 years old, and his family will never be the same because they just lost their kid. So man, I mean I started at like 15. At 15 years old, I started popping pills playing football, and then I was in high school, and then after that my friends were like, dude, stop popping pills, smoke weed. So I smoked weed through high school, and then when I got out of high school and went into college, I started doing drugs again, and so I was doing pills, opiates, Xanax, everything you can think of, cocaine, and then steroids. and so,
like the
and
steroids,
so
like to get big and strong, like those steroids.
oh, bro, I would fucking d-ball, bro, like
Oh
straight
yeah.
up, dude.
Well, I
I
mean,
mean, yeah,
were you jacked though? Like, did you look like a bodybuilder? Like, did you at least have the
bro.
results from it?
I lost all ambition because I wanted to be a bodybuilder, and and it's crazy. So I was taking steroids, but I was also taking diet pills. So I was strong as shit, but I was cut.
Yeah.
I was benching 500 pounds, but I weighed like at that time I was like 205. So it was just like yeah, and I was squatting like 800 pounds. Like I was strong as shit, but and so like when I was going to the gym, my people would be like, all
What the
right,
fuck?
like we know you're on the juice. Anyway, so yeah, so I got tricked into going to rehab, and I basically got committed to a so I got committed to a rehab, and I got tricked into going, and and so like I did 7 days like in a detox, and then after that my family was like, all right, you can do seven. If you do 7 more days, you can come home. The 7 days passed, and I went to another rehab, got tricked into going there, and then once my insurance ran out to that, I went to a sober living, and again I was like, all right, I'm ready to go home, and they were like, and they just fucking left me. They left me at the treatment, and I was like, well, I have nowhere to go, and that so I was forced to go, and like even into my second rehab, like I was still in denial that I was a drug addict, because I never shot heroin, and I never smoked meth, so I wasn't an addict, right? That's what that was my thinking, and so once I got into that sober living and I started going to Narcotics Anonymous meetings, I found my people. I related to people. Like I heard my story through other people, and I stayed clean. And February 10th of 2022 will be my 10 years clean. It's crazy.
Congratulations. That's big. I know Terrence McKinney often talks on Twitter about his stuff, and I know a lot of people are getting onto him like, you're constantly talking about this stuff, like shut up about it. But I know for the people I know, like they wake up every morning and they work on recovery. Like they have readings, they have a journal, some meditate. Like so my thinking is like you're in it every single day. Like people are like, we're tired of hearing about it, but you got to think like for the people in it, every day they work on this stuff and they work on themselves. So it's normal that you hear them talk about it, but also you see that and you're like, oh, I don't care and stuff. Maybe it's not for you. Maybe it's for someone that needs that extra push, that motivation, or, like Jared Gordon. How many times have we seen people, through your journey, through seeing you talk about it and stuff like that? It's helping me. Like you see the importance of, you can keep it to yourself, but if you share it, you see how many people it does end up helping.
Whenever I talk about it on my Twitter, I always get people in my DMs just like asking me and asking me like how to stay clean or recommending stuff, and it's just like like that's why I even share it, like talk about it. That's why I have recovering addict in my Twitter bio, is because if I can help somebody stay clean, or if I can if I can help somebody stay off drugs, like that'll be like my biggest accomplishment. Because like I said, drug addiction, it's rampant, and it ruins lives, it ruins families. I come from a family of addicts and alcoholics, and I mean, it ruins families. You know what I'm saying? And I think I would like to, I think a lot of people like know somebody, or like have seen it, or like maybe they're in their family have seen drug addiction and what it does to people. Like it just they people transform. It's crazy, man. And it's I've seen it for 10 years, man, and I've been to a lot more funerals than I have weddings. And and that's what's it's heartbreaking, man. It's heartbreaking. I've seen a lot of my friends have died. I've seen a lot of people with more clean time than me, like 15, 16, 17. I've seen someone with 27 years clean relapse on pain pills. So it's just like it's a everyday thing, and I love that Terrence McKinney brings it up, and Jared Gordon talks about it. It's because there's more athletes that are drug addicts, and they're too afraid to admit it. And so yeah, so I'm glad that they have the courage to talk about it, because people that have their platform and are as famous as them, like maybe they can give hope to other people.
And the interesting thing too is that, I had someone explain to me, they were like, it's not just about how long you've been sober, but it's also, they were like, you can relapse at any moment. They were like, really, it's a for life thing. I think when you're not in it, you think like after a certain amount of time you're good, but a lot of people, they're like, nah, the rest of your life you have to be aware, you have to know your triggers and stuff like that. Like it's crazy the truly the amount of work that you have to put into it, because some people make it seem like it's just go to AA every once in a while and stuff. But for people in it, it's like you have to be extremely careful, and I mean, it's scary to see how much work you have to put into something like that.
It's an everyday thing, and I have to wake up every day and make the decision to stay clean. And I mean, it's crazy. Like I would go out to bars with my fellow colleagues, like after Bellator, and like and and people would be like, "You don't drink, or like smoke weed or anything?" I was like, "No." Like if I have one drink, I will after I get done, I will be on my phone looking for drugs, 100%. Like that's just how fast it goes. And then I don't want to even chance it. I don't want to just be like, oh yeah, I'll have a couple glass of wine during Thanksgiving, because I know I will be looking for fucking heroin. And I know now that heroin is cheaper than pills. So like that's my avenue, and I don't want to relapse. And the way that I use drugs, I will die, and I will I'll break my family's heart, and I can't do that to my family.
So I have to know, when you were on your, super jacked phase with the steroids, the pills, and all that stuff, how much money were you spending? So I assume like that's because just steroids alone, or any of them really, it's expensive. But I assume you must have spent a crazy amount of money.
Yeah, it was like $500 to $700 every like every 3 weeks, maybe. I was working full time, right? So I mean, it was going, and it's crazy. Like, dude, like I didn't do it correctly. Like I didn't cycle. I
Yeah.
just went straight. I went straight. I did it for like 2 years and didn't cycle. And so when I eventually got caught, and and then I got caught, and I ran out of money. I didn't have enough money to buy the estrogen to make your balls drop. And and so I was out of money. I was coming off of the steroids, but I didn't have any estrogen, so my balls didn't drop for like fucking 6 months, 8 months. It's fucking crazy, dude.
How much damage did you do to your body? Like, do you still have stuff from there today? Like, I assume at the time you do. Like, you must be pretty happy with what you see in the mirror. But we know, like, that's the thing with cycling and stuff. It's just how much damage it does to your body.
Yeah, I mean, I did a lot. I was lifting so much weight um, that like my body couldn't keep up with it because I was getting so strong at the time. So yeah, so like my knees are pretty uh, not as bad as they were, but like my back is fucked up. What the most damage I did was my like my mental health, right? So it, if you're on steroids and you're an angry person, you're gonna have roid rage. If you're not, you're gonna get depression. And so I was fucking massively depressed, which is crazy because like, and I was like super confident, right? Like I was like, I look better than you, I'm stronger than you. But then on the flip side, I was massively fucking depressed. So it's just like, yeah, it was wild. It was that was a wild time in my life, and but I get why people do it because you get strong super quick, super quick. But then also like, but the thing is like when when people that have never used steroids or like don't know like how they work, and they think that like just by taking steroids you get strong, or like you get, you know, like you have to put in work.
Yeah.
You do, like that's like it just, it's not like some magic thing like you poke your ass with the needle and you look like Francis Ngannou. Like you have to be in the gym three times a day to get yoked like that.
The thing is, it's just me, but I had a Remington James on the podcast who, he's been very open about, using steroids in the past, what he's sort of on today. And the things he was saying is like, you start getting on that stuff. And he's like, you notice your traps become ginormous, your arms get big. He's like, you get motivated. But he was also talking about some of the side effects too. He was like, if you look at certain videos, like my face looks gigantic. It's like I've got this gigantic face, I've got acne and stuff like that. Like he's definitely said, like, a lot of people they imagine you look like Brock Lesnar, but at the same time, like it comes at a price.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, and it's all that water retention. That, let's see, TRT. Yeah, like my testosterone is low, so like a couple years ago, I had to get on TRT to like bump my testosterone on up because I had
Yeah.
fucking juiced for so long, and I fucked up my biology.
So is that for life, the TRT, or like I've always heard that like it won't always once I guess it stops producing because you're adding in your own, it like I guess forgets or something. Is that for life?
I'm still in the process of finding out. I take this stuff for like you like rub it on your shoulder, and from what my doctor says, like what I'm doing is just to get back to normal. Like
Yeah.
I think he said like my testosterone is like at a, I guess at the lowest it was like 2 years ago. Like it was at like I was like a 77-year-old man. Like that's how low my testosterone was. And so I just had to get back to fucking being a 30-year-old guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just had to get it back normal. I did damage. I did damage by fucking not nonstop cycling.
You mentioned getting caught bodybuilding and stuff like that. Did you compete? Like, were you in the competitions, getting the spray tan and doing the poses?
No, I wanted to, but like I never got like super ripped. It just like it's not my body type. I learned later that like my body type is not meant for bodybuilding. So so like the guy that I was getting my roids from, like he was a bodybuilder, but like I never did. I just got super strong and I was like a gym rat.
I know with the bodybuilding thing, like, that was like a big motivation for me to lose weight. Cause I guess you have like a goal, right? You feel like you're working on something. You're like, I'm going to get big and muscular and stuff. But the more you look into it and stuff, the more it's like you realize like everybody says get on steroids. Like every time you look for advice, like, oh, how can I improve my legs? Oh, you combine this with this, and then you cycle it with this third one, and you realize like, man, if you're not careful and you're messing around with, those big sports, powerlifting and stuff like that, like everybody recommends you get on steroids, and even bodybuilding. Like some guys are like, competing clean is silly. Like if you're
Yeah.
competing clean, you're not competing. So it's crazy to me. Like you get into those sort of things, and if you're not careful, you're finding yourself thinking about, what could I cycle and stuff like that. It's crazy how fast it goes. You get motivated on certain things. And it's like you want to do stuff, and it just I stopped being interested in it once I found out, like, cycle this, cycle that. I was like, oh shit, like that's real. Like you don't realize how real it is until you start getting into it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's a whole different. world. Like weightlifting and bodybuilding, it's just like it's so different. It's a whole different world. And I see Eric from MyMMANews. My balls are rocking. Fucking Eric. Oh god.
I mean, this is what the people come for. They want an update and make sure all the guest balls are okay. I feel like we need a segment, the Alex segment, where it's like, how are your balls? And then some people, if they're
Right.
smart about it, they'll use it to get a Manscaped sponsorship. They'll be like, they're great thanks to Manscaped. Like,
Right.
I
I
mean,
know.
I feel like you have something. You could reach out to Manscaped and be like, share my story with the world.
Yeah, totally. I should definitely look into that. Have Manscaped sponsor my Humanizing Athletes series.
I don't even know how you'd begin to say that. Look, I talked about my balls on a podcast. Now I feel like, I got to keep them pristine. You guys are my guy. Like you got to use what you can.
Yeah, totally.
But you mentioned the thing on like painkillers and stuff, and it's interesting because with fighters like you notice like Don Fry, for example, he was on no, was it Don Fry? I always get him confused. Yeah, Don Fry. He was on Joe Rogan and he was talking about some fights. He would come out there and he would be, on a ton of different pain pills and stuff. And he's like, and there was a point I wasn't even competing, without taking stuff in my system. I feel like that's something we're gonna find out more about MMA is, through all the injuries and all the pain and stuff guys go through. Like a lot of people are gonna end up with, some issues, with those kind of pain pills.
100%. Yeah, no, you're totally right. I mean, this sport is so new that like we still haven't seen what's going to happen to these athletes, man. Like it's kind of horrifying just to like think about like all the CTE that's going to be coming to like all of our like to our heroes like Chuck Liddell. Like he got me into the sport, you know what I'm saying? And like I don't want to see him become Muhammad Ali, you know what I'm saying? And Parkinson. Did Muhammad Ali have
Yeah,
Parkinson's or whatever? But
Parkinson's. Yeah.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, so I don't want to, but it's bound to happen, especially how much of a savage he was. But painkillers. I'm sure there's a lot of fighters, retired fighters that are on painkillers because they have no health insurance, and that's like a big thing that hopefully down the line the UFC can implement.
That's the crazy thing too about fighting is you feel like it's kind of a guilty pleasure. Like everybody loves knockouts. Everybody loves when Justin Gaethje goes out there and everybody jokes about CTE. Brendan Schaub, everybody's like, oh, his podcast is sponsored by CTE, all that stuff. But you realize like, it's scary. Like, we're going to hear some of our heroes, some of the people we enjoy watching, and you're going to hear about them, 30, 40 years down the line. And you realize like, man, it does have a price to be entertaining.
100%. I mean, just that story on Spencer Fisher, man, like that that was heartbreaking. That was, it's. I mean, he's just one of them. I'm sure there's a bunch of people that probably have or that maybe have like the early stages of CT that don't want to come out and say it because they're embarrassed. You know what I'm saying? And it's bound to happen, and I don't know if I'm ready for it yet because it's gonna be so sad.
For sure. And then you wonder too, like, what's that going to do for MMA though? Like, football, like we've seen it affect football, I've seen it affect boxing and stuff like that. But since MMA is new and we've yet to really see that develop, like what's going to happen to the sport once we realize what's going on? You know what I mean? Like, is it going to get regulated differently? I don't want to say could it get shut down, but like, I feel like if a lot of stuff starts happening like that, we're going to see some changes come to the sport that, we all love today.
I think if anything, it might like push the healthcare and like health insurance up, and maybe like make that a priority for everybody. But I mean, I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see because at least the NFL has some sort of health insurance. But yeah, I mean, I think that should be. I think that's gonna be hopefully. I mean, fingers fucking crossed that the UFC and all these promotions implement that because we don't want these fighters that we love and watch and we watched for years and we're going to continue to watch like suffer in silence.
I know one of the wake up calls for me was with Justin Gaethje since he fought recently. I know at one point he explained like the fight with Michael Chandler was 3 rounds. He was like, because with my style, going 5 rounds is extremely grueling. And he's like, and with my style, I can only fight 2 times a year. And then you look at it and I love watching Justin Gaethje fight. I said it, I'll watch him fight a plastic chair. I don't care what it is, like, but then you start to realize, like, oh man, like, there's a price to pay, and that, I mean, that sours it, but that's part of the game.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, at least he's honest with us. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like he's balls to the wall, and he puts his body on the line. Everything, like, he doesn't, it's kill or be killed. And if I mean, and we are lucky we get to see him fight twice a year.
I feel like the Justin Gaethje appreciation is the right place to sort of end this thing. Listen, man, we went deep. I feel like we went deep, man. There's some stuff here, like, wow, like, you know what I mean? Like that we went deep on this one.
Yeah, no, for sure. And yeah, I mean, thank you for even bringing up some of that stuff. I haven't really been able to share my story out yet. Only like people that I go to meetings with if like know my story. So thank you for that.
Well, that's the thing, is you don't want to be the one to like force people to talk about it, or yeah, because everybody's journey is different. So it's like you brought it up, so it's like, if Alex feels comfortable enough to talk about it, then we can go there. But I don't want to be that guy that's like, so tell us about this thing. You're like, oh, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, no, totally. It can be very. I mean, it can be a touchy subject, but I'm always happy to talk about it because, like I've said 7 times on this thing already, like, drug addiction is, I would not wish it on my worst enemy, because it is deadly. And I just saw a stat that in the United States, the drug addiction or drug overdoses is the #1 death in the United States now, overtaking shootings and car crashes. Just like, dude, man.
All right, so listen, man, before we wrap up, though, you work at a bunch of different outlets. You have a bunch of social media, a lot of great segments, stuff that you do, and everybody's asking for a ball segment, so maybe at some point. But if you want to plug your social media, man, plug your work, all that good stuff, the ball segment, everything, now's the time.
Yeah, man. You can follow me at Alex Behunin on Twitter, Instagram. Follow my byline. I write for Cageside Press. MyMMANews. I do every week. I do under the radar storylines. I do matchmaking for MMA Island. And I think that's it for right now. But yeah, just follow me on social media, and you can. I post most of my work there. And thank you for having me on, Lucas. I really appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. For the people that made it to the end, holy shit, man, you made it to the end. Like, I feel like that deserves some kind of special recognition. So we recognize them, and we'll see you guys next week. Alex, thank you again for coming on, and thank you for getting so deep, man. This is some good stuff.